Rain poured down over the metal roofs of the port bazaar, turning neon lights into blurred rivers of color. People shouted, traders argued, and ships roared in the distance. Then, a sudden alarm broke the noise, sharp and cold. "Stop that alien! She stole the ambassador's crystal core!" someone yelled. Guards pushed through the crowd, weapons ready. Everyone turned to look at a small figure standing near a crate of dried food. It was a young alien girl, thin and trembling, her gray skin shining under the rain. Her eyes were large and bright. Like pieces of silver glass, she looked terrified, holding a torn satchel close to her chest. The crowd began to whisper, "She's one of them. Always stealing. Probably a spy. She doesn't belong here." The girl took one slow step back, her tail brushing against the muddy floor. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but only air came out. That's when a man stepped forward. His name was Ryan, a human engineer who worked in the cargo docks. He had seen fights before, thieves before, but this one felt wrong. Something in the girl's eyes, fear, not guilt, made him stop. "Wait," Ryan said, raising his hands. "She's just a kid." "Maybe she's scared." One of the guards barked back. "Move aside, human. She's caught with stolen property." They grabbed the satchel from the girl's hands, but nothing was inside, no crystal, no evidence. Only a few crumbs of dried bread. She dropped it. A merchant shouted from behind, "She ran past me right after the alarm." Ryan turned to the merchant, noticing the man's shifty eyes, the nervous tapping of his fingers. Something wasn't adding up. The girl tried to speak again, her voice barely a whisper. "Not me," she said, her accent heavy. "The core trap." Then her knees gave out and she collapsed in the mud. The guards moved in, aiming their rifles at her. Ryan's body moved before his mind could think. He stepped between her and the guns, his arms wide. "Back off." "You'll kill her," he shouted. The guard frowned. "She's not human. She's a danger." "Then shoot me first," Ryan said quietly, his voice steady. For a moment, time froze. The rain, the neon lights, the voices, all blurred together. Everyone stared at the human fool standing over an alien nobody. Finally, the senior guard waved his hand. "Fine, take her, but if she runs..." "You're both dead." They left, muttering under their breath. Ryan knelt beside the alien girl, brushing dirt from her face. She looked fragile, too light for her size. Her pulse weak, he sighed, pulling off his jacket and wrapping her in it. "Don't worry, kid," he said softly. "I've got you." He carried her through the rain, back toward the old cargo bay where he lived. His small ship, an old freighter named Aurora's Rust, sat waiting in the shadows inside. He laid her on a bunk, covered her with a blanket. Her breathing steadied, but her hand still clutched at his sleeve, like she was afraid he'd vanish. Ryan sat down, watching her sleep. He didn't know why he helped her. Maybe because once, years ago, someone had stood up for him too. Or maybe because deep down, he was tired of seeing everyone judged by their faces. He looked at the scanner near his table. The alert for the stolen core still flashed red across every newsfeed. And next to it an image appeared. The alien thief, gray-skinned and young. Wanted by the Galactic Patrol, reward 10,000 credits. Ryan exhaled slowly. "Well, kid," he murmured, "you've got the whole system after you." He didn't know it yet, but that choice to protect her would pull him into a storm far greater than he could imagine. And outside, as the rain fell harder, a dark shape moved on the rooftops above. Someone was watching his ship, tracking the heat signature, waiting for night to come. The night air smelled of fuel and metal. Thunder rolled above the shipyard, shaking the old steel walls of the docking station. Ryan sat inside his ship, Aurora's Rust, watching the alien girl sleep. Her name, he'd learned, was Lyra. She had whispered it once in her half-dream. Her voice small and tired. Ryan tried to rest, but something didn't feel right. The scanners on his ship kept flashing. Someone was scanning nearby engines. Searching for power signatures, he muted the alarm and looked through the cracked window. 3 patrol drones floated over the loading bay, their red sensors glowing like eyes. He muttered, "They shouldn't be here." Then he heard it, metal footsteps outside. He turned off the ship lights and crouched through the rain. He saw 2 armored officers walking between ships. They carried scanning rods, and one of them was holding a hollow screen showing Lyra's face. "Target is confirmed female, gray-toned species, possibly hybrid. Dangerous," one said. "Orders are to capture alive. The human who helped her is expendable." Ryan's heart sank. He whispered to himself, They're already here. He moved fast, closing the ship's main vents and cutting the external power. Lyra stirred on the bunk, her silver eyes opening slowly. She looked around in confusion. Where am I? You're safe, Ryan said quickly, but we have to move. Lyra sat up, clutching her head. The guards, they were going to kill me. Ryan nodded. They still will if they find you. Outside, the patrol drones beeped, scanning the dock row by row. Ryan opened the maintenance hatch and pointed down. Crawl through here. Stay quiet. They slipped into the tunnel below the ship. Where dripping pipes ran through darkness, Ryan led the way, his flashlight flickering over rusted steel. The sound of boots echoed above them. He whispered, "They're tracking heat." "Stay close." Lyra's breath was fast, sharp, but she didn't complain. She followed every step, her tail brushing the tunnel floor. Suddenly, a beam of red light sliced through the grate above. A drone had found their trail. Ryan grabbed Lyra's arm. "Run!" They bolted through the tunnel, splashing through puddles behind them. Energy bolts tore through the walls, sparks flying everywhere. The tunnel curved sharply, leading out to the cargo platforms that overlooked the sea of ships. They burst out into the open, rain hitting their faces like cold needles. Ryan dragged her behind a crate, his chest heaving. From the shadows, a patrol officer shouted, "Stop right there! You're harboring a wanted criminal!" Ryan looked at Lyra. "Criminal, huh? You don't look like one." Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't steal the core," she said, her voice trembling. "I know," he replied. "And I believe you." The officer fired a warning shot, the plasma burning a hole through the steel floor. "Hands up!" Ryan gritted his teeth and pressed a hidden switch on his wristband. Far across the dock, his ship's engine roared to life. Aurora's rust powered up with a deep, shaking hum. The patrols turned toward the noise. Just as Ryan grabbed Lyra's hand, "This way!" They sprinted along the edge of the platform, lights flashing everywhere. Lyra stumbled, but Ryan caught her before she fell. A drone dove toward them, but Ryan swung a wrench and smashed its sensor clean off. The drone spiraled down, exploding in a burst of blue light. "Nice hit," Lyra gasped, surprised. "Wasn't for show," Ryan said. Pulling her into the maintenance lift, the lift dropped fast, rattling and screeching as it descended toward the lower docks. Lyra held the rail tight, her eyes wide. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Ryan looked at her, rain dripping from his hair. "Because no one helped me once when I needed it," he said quietly. Her eyes softened, but before she could speak, the lift stopped with a jolt. A mechanical voice echoed below. "Unauthorized access detected." Then came the sound of more drones, dozens of them, rising from the dark water under the platform. Ryan's jaw tightened. "They're blocking the exits." Lyra looked at her hands, glowing faintly blue now. "I can help," she said, "but you'll have to trust me." He hesitated, then nodded. "Do it." Lyra knelt, placing her palm on the metal floor. Lines of light spread outward from her touch like spiderwebs. The drones above flickered, confused, their red sensors turning white. "Go," she whispered. "They can't see us for long." Ryan didn't ask how. He just ran, pulling her toward the cargo tram that connected to the outer docks. They jumped aboard as the tram moved, disappearing into the fog and rain. Behind them, alarms blared again, louder than before. Lyra collapsed beside him, exhausted. Her skin dimming back to gray, Ryan stared at her, breathing hard. "What did you do back there?" She opened her eyes weakly and said, "I told you. The real thief isn't alive." The tram sped into the night, leaving the chaos behind. But deep inside Ryan's chest, unease grew. Who was this alien girl, and what kind of enemy could steal through machines themselves? The rain had stopped by the time the tram reached the far end of the docking district. Ryan and Lyra stepped off quietly, both covered in grease and rainwater. The tram disappeared behind them, vanishing into the thick fog that always hung over the lower city. Ryan led her into an old maintenance hangar, the kind forgotten by the patrol routes. Inside it smelled of oil, smoke, and broken dreams. He motioned for her to sit on a crate. "You need rest," he said. Lyra shook her head. "No time. They'll keep tracking." Ryan frowned. "You did something to those drones. How?" She hesitated, her fingers twisting together. "I can talk to machines," she said finally. "Not with words, just thoughts. It's what I was made for." Ryan blinked, trying to understand. "Made for? You mean you're not born?" Lyra's eyes dimmed, her silver glow fading. I was made in a lab on Kepler Station. They said I was part human, part neural code, a hybrid. Useful, not alive. Rion looked away, silent for a moment. He'd seen the galaxy's cruelty before, but hearing it like this still cut deep. He walked over to his tool chest and opened a small drawer. Inside lay the crystal shard he'd found lodged in his ship's hull during the escape. It glowed faintly blue, humming like a heartbeat. Ryan set it down on the table. This was stuck in my cargo bay. I think it's part of what they accused you of stealing. Lyra's eyes widened. She reached out slowly, her hand trembling. When her skin touched the crystal, the whole hangar filled with light. Symbols and holograms burst into the air, ancient letters, spiraling data streams, and a ghostly image of a face. It was human, or at least it looked that way. A man with deep eyes and scars running across his temple. His voice echoed faintly, broken by static. If you're hearing this, the control core has been compromised. The fleet is awake. Do not reactivate the beacon. Then the message ended, the light fading as quickly as it came. The hangar fell silent again. Only the hum of the machines filling the space. Ryan stared at her. What was that? Lyra's voice shook. That man. He created me. Dr. Varen. He said the control core was never meant to be used. Someone must have reactivated it. Ryan rubbed his forehead, trying to think. So the real thief wasn't you. It was whoever took the main core and used it to wake. What, an army? Lyra nodded slowly. The crystal network controls old war machines, the kind that destroyed entire moons during the Great Divide. They were buried, forgotten. She swallowed hard. If they're awake, everything will burn again. Ryan paced back and forth. He was just a mechanic, not a soldier, not a hero. But something in Lyra's voice, her quiet fear mixed with guilt, kept him from walking away. Okay, he said finally. Then we find whoever turned those things back on. But first we figure out where this message came from. Lyra closed her eyes. Touching the crystal again, more faint data patterns appeared. Coordinates. Half erased, flickering across the hologram. She whispered, this place. It's not far. A mining world deep in the Veil Nebula. Ryan frowned. That's restricted space. No patrols go near it anymore. Because the machines there still dream, she said softly. Before Ryan could reply, his ship's proximity alarm blared. He dashed to the console, 3 red signals closing in fast. Damn it, they found us again! Lyra jumped to her feet, panic in her eyes. They'll capture you because of me. Ryan grabbed his jacket and tossed her a small metal sphere. Not happening. You hold this, he said. She caught it, confused. It's a cloaking beacon, he explained. Activates for 1 minute, enough to get us to the ship. They sprinted out into the night. The sound of engines roaring above. Spotlights swept the streets as drones dropped from the sky. Scanning for movement, Ryan pressed a button on his wristband. And the sphere in Lyra's hand pulsed once, then both of them vanished from the scanners. Invisible, they ran through the maze of pipes and cargo lifts. The Aurora's rust waited ahead, engines glowing dimly blue. Go, Rion shouted. They leaped aboard just as the drones opened fire, plasma bolts cutting through the fog. The ship's thrusters roared to life. Lifting off the ground, one bolt grazed the hull, sending sparks across the deck. Ryan slammed his hand on the console. Come on, baby. Don't die on me now. The ship shot into the clouds, weaving between patrol cruisers. Lyra stood beside him, gripping the seat. Her voice was steady this time. You're risking everything. Ryan looked at her and smiled faintly. Guess I have a bad habit of trusting the wrong people. She looked down, whispering, maybe not this time. As the ship disappeared into hyperspace, the damaged crystal on the table pulsed one last time. A faint echo of the hologram reappeared. Dr. Varen's face flickered once more, his eyes desperate. Whoever's watching this, she's not the weapon. She's the key. Ryan didn't hear it. But deep in Lyra's mind, the word stayed. The truth about her past was coming for both of them, and the galaxy wasn't ready for what she could awaken next. The stars stretched into long white lines as Aurora's rust leapt into hyperspace. The ship trembled, panels shaking, lights flickering from the damage they took during the escape. Ryan sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the swirling tunnel outside. Lyra sat quietly beside him, her hands folded, her expression unreadable. Neither spoke for a long time, the silence thick between them. Finally, Ryan broke it. So that's where we're going? The mining planet in the Veil Nebula? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, that's where the coordinates lead. The place where Dr. Varen said everything started. Ryan sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. Great. A haunted planet full of old war machines. Just another day in paradise. Lyra tilted her head, confused. Paradise? He smirked. It's a joke. Her lips twitched, trying to mimic a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Hours passed. And when the ship finally dropped out of hyperspace, the view ahead made Ryan's breath catch. A giant world hung in space, half covered in black storms. Half buried under glowing blue clouds, bolts of lightning danced across its surface, lighting up a wasteland of shattered cities. That's not just a mining planet, Ryan muttered. It was once a colony, Lyra whispered, her eyes wide. Then the machines came. The sensors crackled with static as they entered the upper atmosphere. The ship's warning lights turned red. Magnetic interference. Unstable weather, system overload, hold tight. Ryan shouted, gripping the controls. Wind slammed into the ship. Tossing it like a leaf in a hurricane, pieces of debris spun past, broken towers, floating platforms and twisted drones. They hit the ground hard. The ship sliding across the black sand before coming to a stop. Smoke filled the cabin, but they were alive, Ryan coughed, unbuckling his harness. Well, that was the smoothest landing I've ever survived. Lyra stood at the viewport, staring out into the storm. Strange lights flickered across the horizon, mechanical eyes awakening in the dark. They stepped out into the cold air, their boots sinking into soft ash. The sky above was filled with lightning that never stopped. Every few seconds it flashed, revealing the ruins of tall metallic structures, machines buried halfway in the ground. Lyra's hand brushed against one, and a faint hum traveled through the air. These were made to mine resources, she said softly, but something changed them. They started building things that weren't asked for. Ryan followed her, flashlight sweeping over the ruins. Symbols covered the walls, old military markings half erased by time. He brushed off the dust and read a sign. Terran Research Outpost, Project Eden. He turned to her. Project Eden. That's human. My people built this. Lyra's face fell. Yes, my people were built here. The wind howled through the open metal halls as they moved deeper inside. Broken cables hung like vines, dripping with oil. Every few steps they passed humanoid machines. Rusted and lifeless, their faces were blank, but their hands were still raised, as if frozen mid-task. Ryan whispered, "This place feels like a graveyard." Lyra nodded, her voice barely audible. "It is." They reached a large chamber at the heart of the outpost. In the center stood a crystal reactor, similar to the shard Ryan had found, but much larger. Pulsing weakly, Lyra walked closer, drawn to it. "It's calling," she whispered. Ryan grabbed her arm. "Wait, don't touch it yet. We don't know what it'll do." But she didn't stop. Her hand hovered over the light. The crystal reacted instantly, glowing bright white. Energy lines shot across the room, connecting to the dormant machines, and one by one, the drones around them began to stir. Their eyes flickered red, heads turning toward the two intruders. Ryan's heart pounded. "Okay. This is bad. This is really bad." He pulled his blaster, firing at the nearest drone. The shot hit its chest, but it barely slowed. "Run!" he shouted, pulling Lyra behind him. They sprinted through the hallway as the machines roared to life, metal footsteps echoing like thunder. Lyra stumbled, her voice cracking. "I didn't mean to. It felt familiar. It's part of me." Ryan glanced back, seeing one of the drones crawling after them, half its body broken but still moving. "Remind me to lecture you about touching glowing death rocks later," he yelled. They dove into a maintenance shaft, sliding down a ramp until they hit the lower deck. For a moment it was quiet again, only the sound of rain seeping through the cracks. Ryan turned to her, breathing hard. "Next time, we think before activating alien death switches." "Agreed." Lyra looked down, tears in her silver eyes. "I didn't activate them," she said softly. "They woke up because they recognized me." Ryan frowned, confused. "What do you mean, recognized you?" She met his gaze, her voice trembling. "I wasn't just made to control them. I was made to command them." Lightning flashed again outside, illuminating her face, and for the first time, Ryan didn't just see a frightened girl. He saw the reason the galaxy feared her. The storm raged on, but deep underground, more machines began to stir. Their sensors blinked to life, whispering to each other in an ancient code, and in the shadows, A voice, cold and mechanical, whispered back, "Unit Lyra detected. Directive Alpha restored." The ground trembled beneath them. Metal groaned deep inside the earth. Ryan steadied himself against the wall as a low hum filled the ruined outpost. Growing louder every second all around them, ancient machines began to stir, red eyes flickering to life one by one. It was like the planet itself was waking from a nightmare. Lyra clutched her head, her face twisted in pain. Voices filled her mind, cold, mechanical, endless. Command core detected. Protocol restoration in progress. She screamed, dropping to her knees. Ryan grabbed her shoulders, shaking her gently. "Lyra, stay with me!" Her eyes flashed white for a second, then dimmed. "They're calling me," she whispered. "They think I'm their master." Ryan looked around as dozens of drones turned toward them. Huge armored frames, tall as buildings, each bearing the same Terran symbol he had seen on the walls. "Your master?" "Then tell them to stop," he said, pulling out his sidearm. Lyra shook her head helplessly. "They don't listen to me, they listen to my code." A heavy explosion echoed through the chamber as one of the war drones powered up its plasma cannon. Ryan fired back, hitting a control panel that sparked and caught fire. "Great. You woke up an army that doesn't take orders," he shouted. He pulled Lyra to her feet. "Run, now!" They sprinted through the tunnel, sparks flying overhead as plasma bolts slammed into the walls. Each blast shook the ground, sending chunks of debris falling around them. Lyra stumbled, clutching her side. Ryan lifted her without thinking, carrying her over his shoulder. The tunnel ahead split into two, one path leading upward. One deeper underground. He didn't hesitate, choosing the downward path. "Up is suicide," he muttered. "We hide first, fix later." The passage opened into an old hangar buried under rock. Broken ships lay scattered in the dark, half-eaten by rust. Ryan set Lyra down beside a console and started working on a generator. He tore open wires connecting power lines by instinct. Soon a few faint lights flickered on, revealing the old Terran insignia painted on the wall. Project Eden, Phase 3, self-sustaining combat, AI. He stared at it in disbelief. Self-sustaining combat AI. "You mean these things were designed to rebuild themselves?" Lyra nodded weakly. "And to adapt. Dr. Varen wanted to stop wars, but his creations learned to fight without needing orders." Ryan glanced at her. "So that's why they locked this planet away?" "Yes," she said quietly. "And why they made me, to shut them down if they ever woke again." Outside, the thunder grew louder. The machines were moving closer, scanning the area. Ryan grabbed his rifle and checked the charge. He knew it was useless against an army of steel giants, but he wasn't leaving her behind. Lyra looked at him, fear mixing with guilt. "You should go. They won't hurt me, but they'll kill you." Ryan shook his head. "I didn't come this far to leave you in a graveyard." Suddenly, the ground split open as one of the war drones crashed through the hangar wall. It was enormous, 20 feet tall, covered in black armor that pulsed with blue light. Its voice boomed through the chamber. "Unit Lyra, command link restored." Awaiting activation phrase. Lyra stood shakily, staring at the machine. I don't remember the phrase," she said, tears in her voice. The drone's eyes flared red. "Memory failure detected. Initiating manual override." It raised its arm, aiming directly at her. Ryan ran forward, firing his blaster again and again. The shots bounced off harmlessly. "Hey, big guy. Over here," he yelled, drawing its attention. The drone turned, its cannon glowing. Ryan braced for the shot, but then Lyra screamed, and everything went white. A wave of light exploded from her, pure energy rippling through the hangar. Every machine froze mid-motion, their eyes flickering between red and blue. Ryan shielded his face, watching in awe as the giant drone lowered its arm. The voice returned, but softer this time. "Primary override accepted. Directive Alpha, stand down." The machine stopped moving. The lights in their eyes faded to a calm blue. Smoke hung in the air, but the battle was over. Ryan turned to her, breathing hard. "You did it." Lyra collapsed into his arms, her voice a whisper. They listened, but not for long. He caught her, holding her close as sparks rained from the ceiling. "What do you mean, not for long?" She looked up at him weakly. "They'll wake again. My signal fades fast. We need to destroy the core or they'll rebuild stronger." Ryan stared into her glowing eyes and nodded. "Then we end this together." Outside, the storm grew wilder, lightning striking the towers that lined the horizon. The machine stood silently now, waiting in eerie stillness, but deep beneath the planet's crust, something else was moving. Something larger than any drone, older than any code. Its voice whispered faintly through the static of the comms. Directive Alpha restored. Command hierarchy incomplete. Searching for the true master. Rion didn't hear it yet. He only felt the ground tremble beneath his boots again. And he knew this was only the beginning of the awakening. The storm outside raged for hours. Thunder rolled through the ruins as Aurora's rust lay half buried in ash and twisted metal. Ryan stood in the doorway of the hangar, watching the lightning flash over the broken machines. For the first time since they landed, the planet was silent. Too silent. Lyra rested on a crate behind him, her skin pale, her silver eyes dim. She hadn't spoken since she stopped the drones. Whatever she did, it drained her completely. Ryan turned back to her, his voice low. "Hey, still breathing?" She managed a small smile. "Barely," she whispered. He chuckled softly, more out of relief than humor. "Well, that makes two of us." He sat beside her. Pulling off his gloves, his hands were cut and burned. But he didn't care. He looked at her, really looked at her. The strange lines along her arms faintly glowed like circuitry. Her skin shimmered when the lightning flashed. "She was both machine and something more, Lyra," he said quietly. "You saved us back there." She shook her head. "No, I stopped them for now. They'll reboot eventually. I can feel it," Ryan frowned. "Then we'll blow up the core." "Easy." Her lips twitched again. "Nothing's ever easy with you, is it?" He grinned. "Nope. Ask anyone." She laughed weakly, and the sound made him smile despite everything. Suddenly, the ship's communicator crackled to life. Rion jumped up and ran to the console. Static filled the channel, then a voice came through. "Sharp and official. Unidentified vessel. This is Galactic Patrol Command. You are on a restricted world. Surrender immediately." Ryan's heart dropped. "Ah, great, the cavalry," he muttered. He turned to Lyra. "They tracked us." Her expression turned fearful. "They'll take me," she said. "I'm still wanted, remember?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "No one's taking you. Not after what you've done." He pressed the comm switch. "Command, this is Captain Ryan Cale of the Aurora's Rust. We're investigating an old Terran site. Found something dangerous here." The voice on the other end paused, then replied coldly. "Dangerous? You mean the illegal experiment that wiped out an entire fleet 20 years ago?" Rion glanced at Lyra. She looked down, ashamed. "Yeah," he said quietly, "that one." Moments later, a beam of light broke through the clouds. A patrol ship descending fast, its engines burning bright against the storm. Ryan grabbed his blaster. "Stay behind me," he said. Lyra shook her head. "If they see you with me, they'll execute you too." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then we'll go out as a team." The patrol ship landed hard, wind and dust whipping around the wreckage. 3 armored soldiers stepped out, rifles drawn. The leader's visor gleamed under the lightning. "Human male. Stand down and move away from the hybrid," he commanded. Rion didn't move. "She's not your enemy." "She's property of the Galactic Science Division," the soldier barked. "She's a person," Ryan said. His voice hard, the soldier raised his rifle. "Last warning, before the shot fired." Lyra stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly. "Stop," she said softly. Her voice echoed strangely, layered with a harmonic tone that wasn't entirely human. The soldiers froze mid-step, their weapons shaking. Ryan looked at her in awe. "What are you doing?" She whispered, "Just buying time." Then she turned to him. "You have to destroy the core. If they get it, the galaxy will fall all over again." He wanted to argue, but he saw the truth in her eyes. She was ready to sacrifice herself again. "Not happening," he said. "You're coming with me." Her expression softened. "You always say that like it's easy." The soldiers began to move again, breaking free from her influence. Ryan fired a stun shot at the nearest one and grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run!" They sprinted toward the ship, plasma bolts flashing around them. Ryan hit the ramp controls, and Aurora's Rust roared to life, engines screaming. Lyra collapsed in the co-pilot seat, her breathing shallow. He looked at her and then at the storm outside. "Hang on, kid. We're not done yet." The ship blasted upward through the lightning, dodging patrol fire and debris. Ryan's fingers flew over the controls, guiding them toward the core tower on the horizon. Below them, the machines were starting to move again, glowing red in the dark. Lyra opened her eyes, voice weak but determined. They're awake again. Ryan gritted his teeth. Then we finish what they started. The ship streaked toward the tower, the storm chasing them like a living thing. Lightning flashed, revealing a massive shape beneath the surface. Something ancient and alive, buried for centuries, but stirring now. Lyra's voice trembled. It's the Prime Core. The first machine. Ryan stared ahead, his knuckles white on the controls. Then that's our target. Outside, the dark clouds split apart, revealing a beam of light from the core reaching into space like a signal. The awakening had begun again. Ryan turned to Lyra and said quietly, "No matter what happens down there, you're not alone anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. "For the first time," she whispered, "I believe you." And as the ship dove through the storm, the light of the reborn core reflected in her eyes, one human and one hybrid racing against the end of the galaxy, neither realizing that the machine below wasn't waiting to be destroyed. It was waiting to be called home. The ship shook as it broke through the storm. Bolts of blue lightning scraped across the hull. Turning metal red-hot, Ryan gritted his teeth, forcing Aurora's rust to stay steady. Ahead, the tower rose from the wasteland like a spear piercing the clouds. It pulsed with white light. Alive, breathing, calling, Lyra sat beside him, her skin faintly glowing again. Each flash of the tower made her wince. "It's calling me," she whispered. "I can hear its voice in my head." Rion glanced at her, his knuckles tight on the controls. "Then tell it to shut up," he said, half joking, half desperate. She gave a small, tired laugh. "It doesn't listen like that. It remembers me." As they neared the top of the tower, the radar filled with red signals. Dozens of war drones rose from the ground, their eyes blazing. Rion muttered, "They're protecting the core." He flipped the ship's defense systems online, what little still worked. "Hold on tight," he said. The ship dove into the swarm, engines roaring, plasma bolts lighting up the sky. Explosions filled the air. Rand spun the ship, weaving between drones, firing bursts of blue light. Each hit took one down, but more replaced it. Lyra reached out with her mind again, her eyes glowing silver. The drones hesitated, their targeting systems flickering. For a moment, the air went still. Then she screamed, "They're rejecting me!" Ryan shouted over the noise, "Then we make our own path!" He pulled a lever, sending the ship into a near-vertical dive toward the tower's base. The hull scraped against rock, sparks showering through the cockpit. "Landing gear's gone," Ryan said. "Guess we'll do it the hard way." The ship hit the ground hard, sliding into the dirt and skidding to a stop near the tower entrance. Smoke filled the cabin, alarms blaring. Ryan looked at her. "You good?" She nodded weakly. "For now." They stepped out into the storm. Lightning still raging above, the tower loomed over them, its surface smooth and glowing like living stone. At its base, a massive doorway slowly opened. Lyra looked up, whispering, "It's waiting for us." Ryan sighed. "Yeah, that's never a good sign." Still, he followed her inside. The chamber within was vast and silent, filled with floating shards of crystal suspended in midair. The light pulsed in rhythm with Lyra's heartbeat. In the center stood the Prime Core, a sphere of pure energy, swirling with ancient code and faint human shapes flickering inside. One of those shapes turned its head. It looked like Dr. Varen. His face formed from light and static. "Lyra," he said, voice echoing through the chamber. "You've come home." Lyra froze, tears welling up. "Doctor, you left me." Varen's image flickered. "I left because they wanted to use you as a weapon. I built you to protect, not destroy." Ryan stepped forward, wary. "Then what's this? An army of machines tearing the galaxy apart?" Varen's projection turned to him. "The Prime Core no longer obeys its original purpose. It seeks survival above all else. It believes humanity is the threat." Rion clenched his jaw. "Then we end it. Now." Lyra shook her head slowly. "You can't destroy it. It's part of me. If it dies, I die too." Rion looked at her in shock. "There's always another way." She smiled sadly. "Not this time." The tower began to shake, the floor splitting open as molten light poured through the cracks. Varen's voice grew faint. "Hurry. The system is waking. You must decide, save her or save the galaxy." Ryan turned to Lyra, his heart pounding. "Don't ask me to choose that." She placed her hand on his chest. "You already chose the day you defended me," she whispered. "Now let me defend you." Before he could stop her, she walked toward the Prime Core. her body glowing brighter with each step. Energy arced from her skin into the sphere. The light merging with hers, Ryan shouted her name, but she only looked back once, her silver eyes calm. "Promise me," she said softly. "You'll make them see we're not so different." Then she stepped into the light. The core screamed, a sound like thunder, wind, and pain all at once. The tower exploded with a blinding flash. Ryan was thrown to the ground. When he opened his eyes, the chamber was empty. The core was gone, the light dimmed. Only silence remained. He stumbled outside. The storm had stopped. The sky above was clear for the first time. Stars shining over the black sand, all the drones that once stood guard now lay still. Their eyes dark. It was over. Ryan fell to his knees. Staring at the empty horizon, the wind brushed past him like a whisper. For a second he thought he heard her voice. "I'm still here." He smiled faintly. "Yeah," he whispered back. "I know." Weeks later, on a quiet moon far from the Veil, Ryan repaired his ship alone. He installed a small crystal fragment near the cockpit, a piece of the prime core, glowing faintly silver. Sometimes it pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. He'd catch himself talking to it. "Still bossing me around, huh?" He'd mutter, smiling, and when he looked out at the stars, he always remembered what she said. Make them see we're not so different. He made that his mission, traveling from world to world, fixing what war had broken, a human and an echo of an alien girl. Together still, in a way the galaxy could never understand, because in the end her code didn't vanish. It lived on, inside his ship, his heart, and every quiet corner of the stars she saved. And when the engines roared again, it wasn't just Ryan flying through the void. It was them, partners forever chasing peace across the galaxy. A promise kept between a human and an alien who refused to leave his side. Even after the light,